Hi, I'm Britt and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about some different fragrances that you can get for that gentleman, that guy, that man in your life. Getting fragrances as a gift for somebody can be very hard to do, but I want to give you some recommendations on some fragrances, some different fragrances that you can get for that man, that guy, that gentleman in your life that is not Dior Sauvage or Creed Aventes. Let's move past that. Let's skip the Creed counters. You know, let's go elsewhere and see what sort of scents we can get. The first one that I have up is one that I've talked about before. I think I actually talked about it in my most recent video, and that is Iris Cartagena from Bon Parfumer. This is Iris Cartagena 502. This is a very woody, slightly smoky, a little sweet, warm, ambery, toasty fragrance. I don't think I have smelled anything quite like this at all. And I am someone who has a pretty sizable collection, but I don't think I've smelled anything that smells even remotely similar. I have said in a previous video that this scent is a little bit nostalgic for me, but I think this is one of those fragrances that you can create some great scent memories yourself with this. I think this would be a beautiful, wonderful date night scent for a guy. Tobacco. So this fragrance has cacao, cedar, vanilla, rum, iris, papyrus, petitgrain, mandarin. There's also sandalwood and vetiver. So in the opening, you definitely get that cacao, and then there's also coffee that's present as well. I would say the dry down on this is a little more woody to my nose. It's still slightly sweet, but a little more on the woody side, and it's still quite cozy and inviting and almost enticing in a way. So I think this would be a great date night fragrance for that gentleman in your life. Staying in that similar vein in terms of woody fragrances, or, you know, the woody scent profile, I have Tobacco 01 from Swiss Arabian. This is a very, 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 very affordable fragrance. I believe it sells for like about $60, I think, or somewhere along those lines. But this is one of those spicy, slightly sweet, woody fragrances. It has notes of plum, apple, there's pink pepper, which I love pink pepper in any fragrance. You throw pink pepper in a fragrance, I'm going to try it. More than likely, I'm going to really love it. There's also licorice, there's labdanum, ylang ylang, there's patchouli, but the patchouli in this is not super intense and sharp. And then in the base notes, you get musk, cashmere, honey, love, love, love honey, vanilla, sandalwood, and tobacco. To me, one of my favorite note combinations is tobacco and honey. It creates almost a little bit of an earthy but also resinous vibe to the scent. This is just so good. This is so good. This, along with the combination of honey and tobacco in this, there's plum. I love a good plum note, and you really pick up on the plum on first spray. The pink pepper in this, it's there, but it's not a star player, but it's there. I would say when I first spray this on skin, I am mainly getting that plum. There's also a little bit of the apple. On my skin, I don't get much of the patchouli. I smell it, but sometimes patchouli can take that little bit of a very sharp, almost medicinal turn, and I don't really get that with this fragrance. Next one I have seen some guys talk about, so I think it is one that guys tend to like. I find this fragrance to be pretty unisex. At least to me, I enjoy wearing it, but also my dad and a few other guys I know like it as well, and that is Oud Satin Mood by MFK. So this is it's not sure it's your typical, but also not your typical oud, vanilla, and rose fragrance. It's very warm. I get more of the vanilla and rose. The oud in this is quite soft. And when I say soft, I don't mean soft like you can't smell it, but you know, there's different variations of oud. It can be very intense. This is more soft to my nose. It's still quite present. It's soft. It's not very overpowering. It doesn't take over the other notes in the fragrance. Those fragrances that I feel is a powerhouse fragrance, a scent that you can almost feel it as you wear it, not in the sense that it feels, it's hard for me to say. It doesn't feel heavy, but you're definitely aware that you have it on. The sillage in this is phenomenal. Projection, great. This is one of those scents where I spray it and I go out and about throughout my day, and sometimes I come back later on in my room, I can still smell this lingering in the air. Now, I love that. I love when a fragrance has performance like that. Not everybody's gonna like that, but this is one of those scents that does that. And to me, you just can't go wrong with this. You can't go wrong with this. A little goes a long way, though. This is just the eau de parfum. That extrait de parfum, I can't even fathom doing like more than 2 sprays of that. I can hardly fathom doing 2 to 3 sprays of this, and I'm an oversprayer. But this is one of those scents that is going to last you a good portion out of the day. It's going to linger in the air. The sillage is great. It's going to stick to your clothes. Just an overall beautiful scent that you can't go wrong with. Lastly, my favorite out of the bunch that I am recommending, that I used to talk about quite a bit on my TikTok, and that is Chicago. Ooh, what's going on with my hair? That is Chicago High from Wilhelm Perfumery. Now, this is one of the ones from Wilhelm that I think is very unfortunately slept on. You know, Ingo Skin, Poets of Berlin, Dear Polly, those fragrances are talked about a lot more from this brand, but Chicago High definitely deserves its recognition. This is another tobacco and honey scent. I love the combination of tobacco and honey. I find it to be so appealing in a lot of fragrances that are more masculine leaning or marketed toward men. But this also has champagne and pineapple as well. I came across this fragrance just randomly. I was at Saks Fifth checking out the different scents at the counter. The sales associate had given me a couple of samples of different fragrances from Wilhelm because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to pick up. And so she gave me a few samples, and this was one of them. Actually, she sprayed it on a tester strip, and I enjoyed it so much. She gave me a sample. I think I ran through my sample and I said, oh, this is getting added to my collection. This is getting added to my collection immediately. Okay, so this fragrance is actually inspired by Great Gatsby, the era of the Great Gatsby, the roaring 20s, the parties, the lifestyles, the exuberant wealth that some people were able to display, the decadence of it all. And I don't mean decadence in terms of just like something sweet, but decadence of the lifestyle, the extremes of having that type of money. When you spray this, there's no way you're going to miss the tobacco and honey that's present here. It has a little bit of fruit, a little tart from the pineapple, but to me, more so, I get some of that fizziness from the champagne. When there's champagne in a fragrance, when there's a champagne note, it comes across a little fizzy, if that makes sense. It's like a fizzy feel of a contrast that you get with this fragrance from the champagne in comparison to the other notes. The champagne gives it this effervescent quality, while the honey and the other notes make it a little more resinous on the dry down. It's quite a beautiful scent. This is, I think, one of those fragrances I think would be very signature scent worthy. But yeah, she is one that I have in my collection that I just think does not get talked about enough, does not get enough attention. I am excited to bring this back out in the cold weather. This is definitely one of those scents that's a little more better suited for colder weather. So I'm very excited to bring this back out. Those are some of my recommendations for some different unique scents that you can pick up for that gentleman in your life that is not Dior Sauvage, that are still statement makers, that are still unique, and that are still signature scent date worthy fragrances. If you have some further recommendations, drop a comment down below. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications, and I will catch you guys next time.